plans are broken up into two parts. One is launching an action plan, and the other is creating the action plan. There may be action plans already in your system. And if they are in your system already, you're free to use those, or you can create your own action plans. When you create an action plan, it is visible to everyone. So if you think it's, a good one that other people can use, you can just give it kind of a generic name, and anyone is free to use those action plans. Basically, what an action plan is a chain or a group of tasks that you want to place onto your calendar for a given client. So you could have a lead action plan that'll give you follow-ups for following up on a lead. You can have a trade action plan for following up on a trade. So any task that you do over and over again, it's a quick and easy way to get those tasks onto your list. So we're first going to launch an action plan so that you can see exactly what we're aiming for. Then we're going to go back and actually create it from scratch. Okay, so I'm kind of starting at the end so you can see the end result and how it works, and then we're going to go back and learn how to build one. Okay? Now, there are two tabs at the top of your screen which you may or may not see. And if you do not see them, don't worry about it, now, but make a note. If you do not see them, you have to add them to your tabs across the top. And to add a tab, you go to the plus sign. You click Customize My Tabs. And then over here on the left are all your available tabs, and then on the right are the tabs that are currently showing on your screen. So for example, this one would be over on the left. I would highlight it and then click Add, and that would put it over onto the right. You need two new tabs. One is Action Plans, and one is Action Plan Templates. And you want to just add those, and then they'll be available up here on your taskbar. Okay? So if I click on Action Plan Templates, that's where we see all the action plans that are available in our system. Okay, so as I said, when you create an action plan, it is viewable for everyone. Okay, so this is a sample action plan that I have, and this action plan is going to put 4 tasks or 5 tasks on my calendar. And you launch it when you want to launch it. That's one thing about action plans. It is a manual launch. So you decide when you want those tasks to appear. You activate the action plan, and then they'll be on your task list. Now, an action plan can be independent of itself, or it can be dependent on another step. So, for example, here I have trade started, and then I have task dependency, and there's nothing below it. So this task will just automatically go on my task list. This one as well, and then this one as well. But account established will not go on to my task list until I mark compliance approval done, which is the second step here. So when I mark compliance approval done, then my account established task will go onto my task list. Okay, and that's all dependent on how you build the template. So I'm going to go into an account. I'm going to show you how to launch an action plan that already exists, and then we're going to learn how to build that action plan, as I mentioned. So here's my client. Okay, and with this client, I now want to put that list of tasks on my calendar. Up here at the top, remember you have your task list, you have open activities, and then you have activity history. So your open activities are going to show you all your tasks and all your events, which are, of course, are your appointments. Your activity history will show any completed tasks, any events that have passed, and then, of course, any calls that you've logged, any documents that you've merged, and any emails that you've sent. Okay, that's your activity history. So right now, they are both set to 0. I'm going to then go over here. So you should all see this button on your screen. If you don't, you can reach out to your Salesforce admin person, and if that happens to be us, then you can reach out to us, and we'll help you get that button on your screen. So I'm going to click Create Action Plan. I'm on the account. I click Create Action Plan. and it gives me this action plan screen. Here I have my first field with a lookup, so I'm going to click the lookup. And here's my list. Remember, it's always going to take you to your recent list. So when you first come into action plans, this list will be blank. So then you would click go. All right, so type something in there and click go. And then you would see your action plan with that name. Okay? So I click the action plan that I want to run. And then it does bring the name of the action plan down with a hyphen. So basically what I'll do here is I'll put in the name of the client. It doesn't do that for you automatically. Now the name of the client will be, this will be linked to the client automatically because I'm in that account when I launch the action plan. But there is a place where you can go to see a list of all action plans. And there is where it can be helpful to see this name. Okay, and I'll show you that. Then we have the plan start date. This is a very important date. Right now it is showing today, and that's what it will default to. But this is your base date. So when you create a task, when we build the action plan, we give it a number of days. Okay? This number of days, the number of days listed is from this base date. That base date is whatever you want it to be. Okay, generally it's the current date that you are launching that action plan, but it could be something else. It could be some expected date of another type, and all you have to do is change that date, and then all of these days will be calculated off of that date. Okay. The other thing that's very nice about action plans is if I launch it and then something changes and I want to move all of my tasks ahead a week, all I have to do is come in and change this start date, and then everything else will adjust. Okay, so that's one of the benefits of using action plans is you have that capability. Okay, down here, I did tell it to skip weekends. What that means is that if it falls on a weekend, it'll move to the previous Friday or the following Monday, whatever your choice. Okay. Generally, tasks, they stay on your calendar until you mark them completed. They'll show up in red as overdue. So really, even if you leave this off, it'll come up on a Saturday or Sunday, but then it'll still be there on Monday. But they do give you that option to skip the weekends. Okay, and then these are the 5 tasks that I put onto my action plan when I created it. Over here on the right, I see comments. And this one doesn't have the word add on it because I did add a comment when I built this action plan. And my comment is just about where to find my thank you letter templates. So what this means is when this task is created, whoever were to open up the task, so let's say you were to assign this to somebody else, they would see that comment in the comment field of the task. So sometimes there may be some simple sub-steps or just some general information that you want to remind yourself of or remind someone else of. You can put that into the comment field. If there is no comment at this point, you could add a comment. So maybe I want to make a comment about this particular client and her compliance approval. And then that comment will show up in that comment field of that particular task. Also, when you launch an action plan, if this client is not going to get a thank you note, you can just delete that step. And then that step will not apply to this client, but it will not be removed from your master template. And you also can add a new task. And here, if you leave this blank, it'll just go onto your calendar automatically in the number of days, or you can make it dependent. We'll talk about that more when we build the action plan. Now here, it automatically, I'm signed in as an admin user. Okay, so it automatically is going to assign the task to you as the current user. So whoever's running or launching this action plan, the tasks are going to be assigned to that person. Okay, that's the default. But I can go in there, and if I want to give this to my assistant or whomever, I can then go in and I can pick a different person there. And then that particular task would be assigned to that person. Okay. So everything is as I want it to be now. I just click Save, and it launches that action plan. Here it's telling me that I forgot to put in a category for my task and a priority for my task. Click Save again. Now, where it brings me, this is what I was telling you, where there is a list of all the action plans. So this is a list of action plans, and if I have to, give me a second here. This is where that name appears. Okay. This is not showing me the one that I just did here. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my account. Okay. And it is not showing up there for some reason. Action plan, what's going to happen is those tasks are going to show up on the open activity list for that particular client. So here I can see the tasks that we would have in that particular action plan. Okay. Also, you then will see an additional related list. So once you launch the first action plan for that particular client, and you can have multiple action plans for one client, you will see this related list. And what's really nice about this is over here to the right, it's going to show you the number of tasks completed. So it's saying that this action plan had 2 steps and there have been 0 steps completed. So you can keep track of that as you go through that action plan steps. Okay. These are tasks, as I said, so they can be reported on. If you are a manager and you want to see that certain tasks are being done, you can report on those tasks. And we'll talk about that when we go over our managing task class. Okay. So basically, if you go to your open activity list, and then you would just click on the CLS, and that stands for close. This is where you would see the comments. When you click on the CLS, it automatically sets the status as completed. And then you would just click Save, and that would mark that task done. If within your action plan you had a dependent task, marking it done would make that next one appear. And then you would see that dependent one show up in the task list. So again, just to review that, you open up your account, you click Create Action Plan. You have to already have some action plan templates in your system. You click the lookup, and it shows the action plans that are in your system. Okay, you make any changes that you want to make. You can delete any or add any task lists. You can assign them to different people. You can add comments. And your base date is going to be the date that all of these days are calculated from. So this one, for example, is going to show up right away because it's not dependent on anything, 14 days from May 1st. You click Save. That launches the action plan. Okay, so now there's the one that I did. So for some reason, it just wanted to be delayed. So again, this is my list of all the action plans that have ever been set up or launched within your company. Okay, so here is that action plan. So I opened it up. I'm going to go to that account. Okay, there are my activities. And then there's my action plan. Now it's showing up 3 times because I went back and launched it a couple times because it wasn't working. Okay, so you would generally only see one here. And that is how you launch an action plan.